Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you're having a good morning. Good morning here. I just got a couple hours before I gotta run into work. So I figured I had a bit of a thought, and I'll get on to what it was first. I was browsing through Facebook Marketplace last night, just seeing what's there, and I can look at a lot of stuff. And I'm like, why would you buy this? Who would buy this? Why would you buy? And then I think, well, it's collecting, right? Because I'm sure people look at my ridiculous collection, even some of you guys, when you see a little bit behind me, and that's not all of them, right? Not even half of them. You're probably like, why maybe not you guys, but a lot of people who just randomly come across one. Hell's wrong with this guy? This guy's an idiot. Why would he have 5, 6, 700 bottles of cologne? He's never going to be wearing them all in his whole life. And they're right. Most of these will outlive me. It's just a fact of the situation, and I'm fine with that. I hope when I do go, whoever gets them enjoys them. Not to get morbid, I'm just saying I don't buy them because I plan on even if I wore every cologne I have for the rest of my life, once a day, every day, go from one cologne to the other, straight in order, I would never wear them all in the amount of time I have left, and I'm still buying more. So it's weird. The collecting aspect is weird, and I think all humans have an innate need to collect something. And I don't know what it is. I'm not a psychologist or, a personality specialist. I don't know. I just think we all have a desire to collect something. And look at the things people collect. You name it, somebody collects it somewhere. Uh, Movies, video games, books, comic books, old technology, cologne, shaving stuff, aftershaves. I mean, soaps. There's people that collect spoons and dishes and knickknacks and ornaments and you name it. I mean, no matter how we did pens, pencils, knives, you name it. Just name something, and there's somebody, at least one person out there that collects it, and they think it's cool. They have fun doing it, and that's the thing. I think that is one of the reasons we collect is it's fun for us. The thrill of the hunt, you know what I mean? The thrill of going out there and finding something you were looking for. It's early, I got coffee. Yeah, so I think it's just collecting is a deep part of human nature, a part of the human experience, the human existence. Not just humans, there's animals that collect things too, usually for purposes, but they still do. And I think that might be a throwback to our more savage times, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it, where our ancestors would collect things for the winter type deal to survive the winter. I think it's just innate in us. Everybody wants to, almost. I'm sure there's a few people out there don't collect nothing, even though they probably still do and they don't even know it. Maybe it's tools, or maybe they put screws and nails in a jar for when they need them. I mean, just it's an innate aspect of being human, I think. And this video might be boring to you guys. I'm sorry. I just wanted to talk about it because it sparked my interest. Why we collect, and I think that's why it's just part of who we are. What we collect, I mean, it just depends on what we think is cool. But there's also aspects of collecting. You can break it down, right? There's your nostalgia collector, right? The person who collects things from when they were either young or younger. You don't have to be super young. It could be last year. You can have nostalgia or something. You know what I mean? But in general, it's when they were younger children, and then it's usually toys or books or games or movies, things like that, where they want to collect to try to recapture a bit of their youth. which is perfectly understandable. Like I said, these are all understandable reasons to collect and all valid. They want to try to recapture things of their youth. And that's your nostalgia collector. Then you have your collector who just wants to use whatever it is they're collecting, whether they comic books they want to read them, books they want to read them, movies they want to watch them all, colognes they want to wear them all, things like that. And they tend to be the smaller collectors because they're the ones that are actually like a straight up collector who wants to use everything is not going to end up with, like I said, 5, 6, 7, 800 bottles of cologne. They're just not. There's no reason for it. They're going to have probably 50 to 100 type bottles of cologne, and they're going to wear them throughout their life. Every now and then they'll pick up a new one. Perfectly valid collection. People say, you're not a real collector. You don't good for it. How can you call yourself a collector if you don't have this in your collection? Whatever it is. And it's like, no, maybe they don't like it. So, perfectly valid. Then there's two that I think kind of go together. They're different but go together. There's your shelf collector, your person who buys stuff just to sit on a shelf because they like the way it looks. They never open them, they never use them, they never read them, whatever it is they're collecting. And I don't get that aspect of collecting strictly. I do to a point, and I'll get into it. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people use that as a negative indication for you're just a shelf collector. So that's what they want to do. It looks good. It's no different than somebody who collects ornaments, right? Or stuff like that you can't really use. You just put on display. They're using it for display purposes. Nothing wrong with that. Then there's the collector, and I kind of find they go together with the shelf collector. Not all of them, but there's quite a crossover there. You're a guy or girl who collects something thinking it's going to be more valuable in the future. If I don't open it, I don't use it, 20 years down the line, I'll be able to sell it for a few $1,000s. Only paid $100 for it. Again, a valid collector, yes. I mean, I don't want to say it's not, but I mean, it's kind of the most foolish reason to collect anything. And the reason, whereas a shelf collector, straight up shelf collector, is doing it because they enjoy it. They like the way it looks, sitting on a shelf or a display unit, whatever. Makes them happy. Strictly buying stuff and holding on to it for purposes of reselling later. And not even usually soon, like, 10, 20 years later. For what? A few thousand extra dollars? I mean, that's not a very good investment. If you're looking to invest in something for your future, invest in things that are going to make you possibly lots of money. Businesses, products, people even. You can invest in people and their dreams and stuff. But not bottles of cologne. Yes, there are certain things that you can get tens of thousands of dollars for, hundreds, $1 million for, but they're very few and far between. I mean, you've got to be lucky. I mean, this ever gets discontinued, even in 30, 40 years, you think it's going to be worth $100,000, $1 million? No, maybe a few $100, maybe $1,000. I mean, that's a bad investment, actually. You've got to wait 20 or 30 years to make $900. And what's $900 going to be in 30 or 40 years? $10? I mean, so it's what I'm kind of getting at. I hope I'm explaining it to what I'm saying. That type of collecting, well, I'm not saying it's not valid. It just, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me when you can just invest that money in something else and be way better off later on and a lot sooner. So, and they're kind of the main collectors. And then you've got people like me who kind of fall into all of them except for the buying something to resell it later on. I don't have anything that I've ever bought in my life that I didn't want to use. Or at least try. Because I've tried every one of these fragrances. I may not have worn them, maybe only sprayed them once. Haven't sprayed them in 10 years. But I've tried them at least. And I kind of, like I said, I got a mix of all three of them in me. I definitely buy to use, collect to use. I like to use a lot of these. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them I do. Um, Shelf collecting. I'm I buy a lot of stuff just to shelf collect. I like to get series of fragrances, especially if they're in the same type bottles. La Nuit L'Homme, I love it. I've got three or four I bought literally, and I haven't luckily liked them all. But there's a good chance I wasn't going to like some of them, but I bought them just because they match the bottle on them. They're good on the shelf. Uh, English Laundry, they keep all their bottles the same. So far, I like that, so I'll buy an English Laundry. The minute they change the bottle, that collecting part is over, right? But I buy them simply because they look good on a shelf, you know. Jovan Musk fragrances, I buy them because they look good on a shelf. I'm probably not going to wear a lot of them, although they're pretty good. I will wear them, yes. But I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to wear them every day and everything, but you know, so I'm guilty of shelf collecting myself, and that's okay. Um, Nostalgia. You all know I am guilty of having stuff and still liking stuff that maybe I shouldn't like. Uh, Based on nostalgia, I can name a dozen colognes. Um, Fahrenheit, Cool Water, Polo, Calvin Klein Eternity, Calvin Klein Escape, uh, Old Spice, Canoe, and the list goes on and on and on and on. English Leather, just goes on and on of fragrances that I own that I like, but I think I more like for nostalgia reasons than actual wearing and enjoying them just on their own merits, right? Um, and I guess I'm slightly guilty of buying stuff just for the sake that I could probably resell it. I really have done a couple resales. Like I said, I sold that Jay Z fragrance, whatever it was, gold or whatever it was. I can't remember now. For like $400. Spent $20 on it. I didn't initially buy it though, as I'm going to resell this because at the time it was a $20 fragrance, right? So no, I mean that shot up real quick. Um, but so I guess I am kind of guilty of a little bit of that, and maybe even with the Aqua di Gio Perfumo that I bought for $20. Um, I knew I was never going to wear that, and the thought did cross my mind as I was buying it. I can probably resell this for a few $100s, make a bit of a profit. Um, so maybe slightly I'm guilty of that. But I'm not trying to retire on it either. I just, I make a few hundred. And I haven't sold it yet. And I probably won't, honestly. It's on the shelf. Shelf collector. Um, but I mean, the thought did cross my mind. And there's a couple more I can't think of off the top of my head that I've done that with. Or that I bought that are now worth a lot of money. And I've thought maybe I should sell them. But again, not to build a retirement fund or anything. Just to make a few extra dollars and buy something else. Right? So I guess I'm guilty of all types of collecting to a degree, but mostly uh, I say I'm guilty. I'm more of a user of my collection and a nostalgia collector, right? Shelf collecting, well, I like putting stuff on shelves, looking good. Um, it wouldn't bother me if they were just in a box somewhere. I'm not. I would have a few out that I really like, but it wouldn't bother me. So shelf collecting, not really my thing, but I do it, like I said. And buying something, hoping it'll be worth a small fortune in the future. I've never done that for the most part. Like I slightly did it with the Aqua di Gio Perfumo, but again, it was $20, and my thought was maybe it'll grow on me too. That was another thought. I've sprayed it a couple times and it just hasn't. It's not my style of fragrance. I'm not bad or anything. It's just not my style of fragrance. Um, and the option is there to sell it if I want. I probably never will, but the option is there. And as I wait, it'll probably go up a little more. But it'll never get to the point where I can buy a house with it. You know, I think in the next 4, 5, 6 years, it's going to peak. It's probably going to get up to about the $400 range, and it's going to peak around there, and then slowly. But I mean, that's still not a lot of money, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. It's a lot of money to hand over to somebody all at once. I get that, but in the grand scheme of things, $400 is well, half a paycheck. I mean, you know, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about collecting and how it's I think it's part of the human condition, I guess, and the type of collectors that are out there, and everything too. Like I said, everything. You've got people, like I said, who buy for nostalgia reasons, buy to use and enjoy, buy to put on a shelf, uh, buy in the hopes that someday in the future it'll be worth enough for them to retire on, which I just don't get. Like I said, are there certain things that have done that? I think so. I'm not 100% sure. I can imagine a few comic books are probably $1 million comic books. Maybe some sports cards might be $1 million, half a million, $1 million cards. But I don't think there's a $500,000 fragrance out there. I don't think there's $500,000 action figure out there, $500,000 game out there. Could there be in the future? Yes. But I just, I don't know. It just doesn't, to me, that doesn't make sense. But it's the one part of collecting. And are they truly collectors? That's another thing. Are they buying? I mean, by the strictest definition, they are, because they're buying stuff and having it, collecting it. So, by the strictest definition, they're collectors. But are they really? Or are they just investors? You know, is there, or potential investors looking for that potential? I don't know. I'll leave that one up to you guys. Do you think those types of people who buy are collectors or, you know, investors? Are they, you know, banking on something? Are they not buying it because they really care? I guess that would be it. Do they really even care what they have? See, I care about all these things. You know, I like having them. I like people seeing them. I like wearing them. I like, you know, and when I collected action figures, I liked, you know, posing them. You know, you call it playing with them. I didn't play with them. I was too old at the point, but, you know, I'd pose them and set them up in dioramas and stuff like that. So, you know, so I liked using them. I liked displaying them. Video games, I liked playing them, even if they were, you know, there's something about a bad video game too, like a real bad video game that has some kind of sick enjoyment for me. You know, people put in a bad video game, like, man, this game is horrible, man. Oh, I want to play it. I want to play bad, see how bad it is, because I get some kind of perverse enjoyment out of playing a bad video game or watching a bad movie. You know, this movie is horrible, man. 4% Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, I gotta see that. How bad can it be? Right? It's almost a morbid curiosity. Like, I've gotta see. I've gotta try. I'm kind of the same way with fragrances. A lot of fragrances that people say are horrible, I've got to try. You know, there's one I've been wanting to get my hands on, but it's so much money, and that's Secretions Magnifique. I just can't bring myself to spend the money. If you know anybody who has it and you're selling it cheap, or they want to send a sample my way, let me know. Because I really want to try this fragrance. I know it's horrible, and I know I'm going to hate it. But it's just, again, that morbid curiosity of mine. I've got to try it. So, and I will eventually somehow. But, yeah. So that's it, guys. I just want to do a quick little video. I've got some time, and I figured it popped in my head, and I want to talk about it. All right, guys. Peace, love, be good to each other, and be good to yourselves.